Universalist Fellowship of the Rappahannock. My name is Marley Avant, and I will be your service leader today. And we're really excited who we have here for guests. You know, how blessed are those of us who have known firsthand the joy of a faithful companion, one who enriches our lives, protects us, and loves us unconditionally. These beloved friends show us how to be better human beings. They communicate to us in a silent language that speaks to our hearts, and they truly heal our hearts. We light this chalice in honor of the web of the circle of love that wraps us in an all-embracing sense of belonging. We are indeed all connected. My opening words come from the Native American Cree tribe. Oh, Great Spirit, speak the truth to our hearts. Why we have been honored to live this life on Mother Earth. You live within everything, and everything is a part of you. Help us to feel your great beauty within ourselves, and then we will see you in everything. Oh, Great Spirit, teach us our connection to nature and the Spirit, so we may live in harmony with all our relations. Help us not to judge other life with what we see with our eyes, but let our hearts be our moral guide. Oh, Great Spirit, help us all to awaken to the unconditional love that is all around us, and give us the peace we need for our soul, so we may walk in peace upon this Mother Earth. So now we will have a story for all ages from Charlene Talcott.
I have actually two stories. One is about Bryna, real quick. So, my dog Ernest that I have was released from Canine Companions for a heart problem, but I got him as a puppy because of Bryna. I had seen Bryna raise 3 dogs of her many that she had, and I kept saying, I'm gonna do this someday, I'm gonna do this someday. And finally I was ready, I got a puppy, and she got the litter mate to that one. So we had 2 brothers that we raised together. I couldn't have had a better mentor through all of it. And I had to go up to Long Island to pick up my puppy. And they gave us the tour, and everybody said, well, how did you get into raising a puppy? And I says, oh, I knew this person. And they said, who was it? And I said, it was Bryna and her husband Elliot. And they said, oh, Bryna and Elliot. So everyone we talked to, oh yeah, they're still wonderful. You know, everybody knew who they were up in Long Island, New York. Even the guy cleaning the floors, sweeping the floors, he said, how'd you get into puppy training? And I said, you start to say, Bryna and Elliot. They are rock stars in Canine Companions. So this book is called Raising Hera, and it is about Canine Companion puppies. It's not specific to that one. The author did make it that way, but she doesn't mention that in there because copyrights, you know. So I'm Max. My mom says, when I grow up, I'm going to be a service dog. Service dogs are really smart. They can open doors, turn on lights, and even take off someone's shoes. My mom says helping someone do the house things is just like being a hero. Every service dog starts learning with a puppy raiser. When I met my puppy raiser, Sam, I knew right away we'd be best friends. I'm going to live with Sam and his family for a whole year. Every morning, Sam has cereal with bananas and milk, and I eat yummy, crunchy kibble. You can leave it, Brent. When we're finished, it's time to start training. Sometimes I just want to run around and play. When Sam and I go out, I get to wear my special yellow vest, and it lets people know I'm working. I always feel important when I have it on. Once a week, we go to puppy kindergarten. I'm friends with all the puppies in my class. There's Elle, Pork Chop, Nacho, Daisy, Mr. Bubbles, and Moose. You'd be surprised how many of these puppies are named after food. At least half of them. Everything we learn to do in class is called a command. One of the commands I like best is visit. It means asking me to get close to him. After school, we go to the park to practice. Sometimes I just want to chase the squirrels. Once I saw a real service dog, and he didn't even look at the squirrels. I can't wait to be just like him. We met a little girl named Lucy, who uses a wheelchair. I got to practice my visit command. Lucy said one day I'll help someone like her. Service dogs have to stay focused when they're working, so I have to practice being around people, cars, and all kinds of noises. I can go places other dogs aren't allowed. I can go on the bus. The bus driver even lets me ride for free. I can go to the library. Sam likes to look at books about dinosaurs. I like to take a nap. I can go to a restaurant. I'm supposed to stay underneath the table, which is really hard when the French fries smell so good. But my favorite place to go is the movies. Sam always gives me a little popcorn. When we get home, Sam takes off my vest and we get to play. Sometimes I get so dirty I have to take a bath. Before we go to bed, Sam reads aloud and I listen. After Sam says the end, he brushes his teeth and then he brushes mine. When it's time for me to leave, Sam and I are going to miss each other very much. But we both like dreaming about how I'll be helping someone who needs a dog like me. Actually, they're not allowed to sleep in the bed. And that's just like being a hero.
I think Eggo liked that story.
I think he did. I wasn't sure about where getting his teeth.
I think the popcorn is the
Yeah.
He's a popcorn eater. All right, well, we have no news to sing out today, but it's wonderful. We had a story for all ages. There is a reading that I have that I will make very quick. And I thought it was appropriate because, again, dogs help us often when we're in crises or often when the world seems to be in crises. And I found this one that was written by Roberta Finkelstein, Reverend Roberta Finkelstein, and it was right after the 9/11 terrorist attack. And, well, I'll read. Enthusiasm and engagement. This is the spirituality of the dog. My dog, Pepper, loves me absolutely. He thinks I'm wonderful all the time, and he is absolutely enthusiastic about the world. The word enthusiasm has an interesting root. It goes back to the Greek on theos, the indwelling of God. Enthusiasm is not mindless. It is a deep and abiding belief in the goodness of life. That's the spirituality of a dog. Engaged with the world, out there seeing and smelling and interacting and constantly affirming in basic goodness. On September 12th, when I woke up the day after, exhausted from a mostly sleepless night, and wondering how I could possibly prepare for the services I had promised that evening, it was Pepper who helped me get my perspective back. For Pepper, the morning after September 11th was a morning like any other. He charged up from his bed, headed straight for the door, wriggled in his anticipation while I hooked on his leash, and charged out the door and down the porch steps. Oh, those first sniffs at the bushes, the first whiff of green grass. Always we go the first couple of houses with his nose buried in the delicious smells of the neighborhood. Then as we approach the mini park, he stops and looks back at me. Isn't this great? He asked, tail wagging. Can you believe it's all still here? I don't know which was harder to believe that morning. That the Twin Towers was gone, that the seemingly impregnable Pentagon walls had been breached. Unbelievable. Or was it even more unbelievable what Pepper told me that morning? The grass, the bushes, the familiar smells and stops along our regular morning route, it was all still there in all its glory. Pepper doesn't know much about terrorism or foreign policy, but what he does know is that all that was right and wonderful and dependable about our life on September 10th is still there. He knows it because of his enthusiasm for life, his ability to embody the indwelling goodness and rightness of things. He teaches me every morning a most important lesson. Be uncomplicated, be genuine, be glad to be alive, because sniff, it is all still here. Now, Eggo, you truly are an exceptional dog. You've been so patient, and I am absolutely delighted to introduce Bryna, who obviously many of you know, and who has been living in the Northern Neck for 15 years now, right? And has been raising future service dogs since 2022.
No, 2012. Did I put?
2012, no, that's my eyes.
Oh.
2012, yes. Yes, she is currently raising her 10th, who
This year.
is here. Yes, yes, so please, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm truly delighted to be here. The warmth of your community just is right here, so thank you. Yeah, it's a wonderful video. So, as I mentioned that Canine Companions, it used to be called Canine Companions for Independence, is a 50-year-old organization that provides service dogs to people with disabilities without charge. They put a value of all of these dogs on about $50,000. I'm sorry to see so many tears. It fills my eyes up every time too, and it's a lot like that actually, which I'll discuss in a little bit. It's a phenomenal organization. The dogs, as I say, go with people with physical disabilities, so most people think of Guiding Eyes for the Blind. And actually, in terms of the breeding program, they work very closely with Guiding Eyes. Some 8,000 dogs have been provided over the last 50 years. Not actually, when you think about it, as a small number. It is extremely labor intensive to provide these dogs. But what these dogs do is so extraordinary. You saw a little bit of it with Andy. They do open doors and drawers and refrigerators and take off socks and sweaters and pick up even a credit card off of the ground. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they learn. Canine Companions has its own breeding program and always has. They have gone through different breeds in the early years, but for the last long while now, they raise golden retrievers Golden Retrievers and Labrador Retrievers, and a cross between the two. Eggo here has some Golden Retriever in him, not a lot, and thank you. He's 13 months old now, and he has a different story, which I'll get to in a minute. But in February, he will return to his regional headquarters, which is in Long Island, New York. And he will spend the next at least 6 months in professional training. And that's where everything good happens. I like to say our main job is to socialize the dogs, take them everywhere, take them on elevators and into crowds of people. And many people here have seen me at farmers markets, or yesterday I was at a Christmas market. And to really socialize the dogs. The dogs, genetically, because they have been bred for so long, are sweet. Their dispositions are just all phenomenal. And unlike what actually Labradors can be pretty crazy, but they're not. These dogs are not. They're just really wonderful dogs. So with this pup, I decided it was October of 2024, and I said, the world just looks miserable right now, and I need a new puppy. And it was just a couple of months that I didn't have a pup. And then usually they send us the pups, and they literally arrive from California to a local airport. It might be Norfolk, it might be Richmond, might even be Dulles. But I decided to go pick him up, and I flew to California. And the dogs, the mothers, they give birth in the house. And I stayed with the woman who had Eggo and his 9 litter mates for a couple of days. It was extraordinary. These people are volunteers, and how in the old days you used to see people with puppies in boxes with newspapers. These guys have toys and teeter-tots, and it's just incredible to watch. And then I flew home with him, and it was a pretty extraordinary experience. It was really wonderful. Volunteers, puppy raisers, my favorite title. I brought several brochures and material for anybody who would like. It's a fabulous job, because it's a fabulous organization. These dogs go to adults with disabilities, children, and most recently, or the last several years, veterans, PTSD, but it's not PTSD in terms of just an emotional support dog. These dogs are trained for sleep interruptions, say, and let's say bad dream, flashing around a little bit. These dogs are trained, not this one, but they're specially trained for the PTSD. They get up, the first thing they do is put a light on. Then they go over to the vet and start to pull the blanket off, hoping that the change in temperature will interrupt the sleep. And then the last part is the dog will go over the person's around here in the midside for deep pressure to calm the person down. It's really extraordinary. The dogs also, for the veterans, will do a block. For instance, they'll get behind them. They're not taught to growl or anything like that, but many of the veterans had told the government and told Canine Companions that they didn't like people behind them in the grocery store. They were going to the grocery store at midnight to avoid people. Most of the work that's done with these dogs becomes one-on-one. One of the dogs that graduated, actually, it was Ernest's brother, El, went with a veteran. And shortly after the graduation, I was in touch with the Jim, and I said, "How's it going?" And he said, "Well, El and my 2 boys are in a park. And if it wasn't for El, I wouldn't be here." So there's just some phenomenal stories about how people's lives are truly changed. Now, the big question people always have for me is, well, how do you give them up? Well, it's not giving them up. First of all, it's several things. One is, at the start, you know it's not your dog. Two, I always say, you give these dogs, best thing you can give them is all of your love, because they arrive to you with confidence, and they're truly incredible dogs. And the other thing is, I'm in touch with everybody that has my dogs. And I love to call it good extended family, because there's just such a mutual caring. The woman who had my first dog, the dog just died at 12. And she and I became best friends, and she now lives in New Mexico. And her local center is in Southern California, and I went with her to get her replacement dog. We call it a successor dog, which is really an incredible experience. So that answers that one. I answered, no charge. I'm trying to see what, so I got started very simply. I worked for an organization that had mandatory retirement at 62, and that was fine by me, because I knew I was moving down here full time when that happened. And I just happened to see someone who had a dog at their feet, and it turned out to be a guiding eyes dog. And I was living in DC at the time, and I investigated it, and I found Canine Companions, and I'm so glad I did, and they worked for me. And it's kind of, I'm a serial puppy raiser, because these guys are just so terrific. I want to leave plenty of time to answer any of your questions, and in case I missed anything, Charlene, you can chime in and say, tell them about. So what do you think? Yes, please.
I'm interested in, do the people that train these dogs have to be retired, or can you have like a full-time job as well?
You definitely can have a full-time job. As a matter of fact, the dogs end up going to work with a lot of people. Service dogs in training in Virginia have the same rights as service dogs, but are not covered by the Americans with Disability Act, which means I can take him into a restaurant, I can fly with him, I can do whatever with him. If someone were to say, I don't want you in my restaurant or something, I wouldn't argue with them. I would leave. I've never had that happen. I am really pleased to say never. When I say it's a service dog in training, they're always good with that. So, and we have college chapters now, which is an excellent thing. By the way, the organization is located all over the country. Headquarters are in California, which is where the breeding program is. Our local chapter is called the Old Dominion chapter. It's basically located in Richmond, which is where it started, but it's fascinating because now we have a whole lot of people around Williamsburg and Matthews. Yeah. So it's become like Matthews. You can walk down the street with a dog and think, oh, it's a Canine Companion dog. So it's really terrific. Yeah.
They are building something there for Canine Companions,
well,
yes?
A mansion and 28 acres was donated to Canine Companions. Here, buddy. And they haven't redone the house yet. It would need a lot of work. So the house is there, but they have put up some modular training. I don't know what you call those, no, they put up a run, but I mean, they put up the
Trailers or something?
thank you. Like modular trailers,
Right.
where they do hold classes and they have socialization. And there's been a really concerted effort to have people in the area know who Canine Companions is. Community's been extraordinarily welcoming. It's really great. Yes?
I have a
Oh, sorry. You got the mic.
So Bryna, would you address the misconception some people have that these dogs are just slaves to you?
Oh.
That the dogs choose what they're gonna do, and they choose their person, and if they don't wanna be a service dog, they actually choose that too.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so, right, these dogs adore people, they adore other dogs too. Usually when the vest goes on, they know they're working and they like it. You know, I mean, it's kind of like you can tell because the dog's in the back of the car and I say, Eggo, dress, which is a command that we use, and he comes, puts it on. And they do like to do it. Not all dogs become service dogs. As a matter of fact, only 50% of the dogs become service dogs. And that is because there's medical releases, such as the one for Ernest. And then some dogs, their temperament is not right for it. So I have a dog, Frost. It was a black lab that I did not raise, but somebody else did, and they didn't want to take him back, and my name was on a list. Frost got to his professional training in New York, and he was just miserable. And that happens. Sometimes they show anxiety. He was just miserable. Well, they don't want to make a service dog. If you don't want to be a service dog, you don't have to be. What are you looking at? Anyway, so Frost came to me. And it happened to be, it was in 2021, so it was still COVID. And, I'm sorry, it was in 20. It was still during COVID, and it was roughly 6 months after my husband died. And I always refer to Frost as heaven sent. And so these dogs really are just, they have a total feature. Did I miss anything on that?
No.
Okay.
Well, they do get playtime.
Oh, sorry, thank you. They get tons of playtime, and they are really dogs, and we don't try to make them anything else. It's just that, like this one is unbelievable. He's such a snuggler. Like, given his choice, he'll come up and snuggle, put his head, on my chest. I didn't train him to do that. He's doing that. It's just incredible. So, yes, sir.
In order to raise one of these pups, you need to have a closed yard.
Yes.
I thought so.
Excuse me, well, I'm going to answer something too. What I've done with this dog and the dog before is called co-raising. So I live up near Burgess, and I have a co-raiser. She and her husband live in Reedville, and we trade off. And it's not a week here, a week there. It's very easy. It's like the last couple of days, and then we were talking this morning, and I'll drop him off tomorrow, and he loves both places. He knows where his toys are. He sleeps in a kennel. He knows where their kennel is, where my kennel is, and it's a terrific arrangement. And it's also freeing because, when they go on vacation, I take, so it's a very nice and much easier way to do it. So, yes.
I would caution people not to misjudge their dogs as far as their suitability for this kind of work and leader dogs for the blind. And the team that trains them are just absolutely perform miracles. At one point, we had two dogs, one a small one and also a Malamute. And the little one was a great hunter, and the Malamute, unfortunately, was a great killer. And after having brought home a couple of geese and so on from the neighbors, we knew we had to do something with the Malamute. So we contacted the leadership for the Dogs for the Blind and told them we had a Malamute, and they said, well, they don't work out very well. But bring her down there and we'll run it through a test. And they did. They ran it through the test, and that Malamute outperformed many others that they had accepted. And that Malamute then ended up in Atlanta, Georgia, as a leader dog for the blind. So if you have a dog that needs to find a new home, consider that as a possibility.
Very nice, very nice.
This is wonderful. Where can we all sign up?
Well, I have some information, I wish you would, you know, the more puppy raisers we have, the demand is enormous, so.
But I do have a question.
Sure.
And the question, these are for people with physical disabilities
Yes.
only, not cognitive disabilities.
Not cognitive disabilities, I mean, sometimes,
I mean, but you can have somebody, you know, there are people that, I used to work in the disability field and I was more involved with people with more significant cognitive disabilities.
Right.
And,
yeah,
they could certainly be helped by dogs like
definitely,
this.
this particular organization doesn't. They did just this year add that they're working with, I think it's called Early Canine Alert, which is a group also in California, which alerts for diabetes. But yeah, it's truly extraordinary what these dogs do. The dog I had mentioned before that I said was the first dog I raised, he was placed with a woman who had post-polio syndrome, and she is in a scooter. And the dog could just pick up anything for her. You know, she frequently would drop things.
I had a very good friend who had a lot of cerebral palsy and yet was brilliant. Sort of a Stephen Hawkins person. And we used to go into restaurants with my very strange looking but brilliant person and his dog, and we were in DC, and we would go into, we would purposely go into the finer restaurants for lunch in DC just to make a statement.
You're very nice.
And it was just wonderful to see the relationship between the dog and my friend Bob.
It really is. It really is. Any other questions? Well, I do have brochures for you to read a little bit more about it. You can raise a puppy, you can hold a fundraiser, you can become a volunteer.
Also, there is a tremendous community.
Oh, that's true.
When I got my puppy, I had no idea what to do with him, and every class, people reach out and they teach, and you can call people, it's constant support.
It really is. And including when people go away, just the chapter, you know, jumps in to take the dog or any help or questions or whatever. The organization really learned a lot from COVID too, because they took everything and put so much online. So this little guy, Eggo, is just a, well, yeah, you know your name. A sweet, silly, very active puppy. And I think he's gonna do okay. And most people know that I usually say, oh, that dog's not gonna make it. Go ahead, please.
So are different organizations set up for, to help those with physical challenges, and other organizations are there for, say, veterans with PTSD?
No, we do veterans with PTSD. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, we also do hearing dogs, which is extraordinary. When the dogs go to what we call matriculation, for him it'll be in February, it's that 6 months training period. At about 3 months, they look at the dogs and figure out, this dog would be good for a child, this dog would be good for a veteran. The hearing dog program, I believe, is only done in, well, California and Florida, but at any rate, it's fascinating. The dogs alert the person either with their nose or their paw to sounds. And the response is, what? And the dog will then show them. It's totally beyond me because it's phenomenal, really, to watch. So the field is expanding all the time as they're finding out how much, help these dogs can be to people. again, not just emotional support of any kind, but as service dogs, they need to perform a task, and they do. So, yes.
What's your connection, or is there much of a connection with dog guides for the blind?
On my level, no, but the organization very much so. They even trade breeding stock because they too breed their own dogs to make sure. So, yes, sir.
How much does it cost to own one of these dogs? In terms of, it's all this training, do you have to pay?
Okay, the only thing I pay is,
Not you so much as the person who is gonna be the ultimate user of the dog.
okay, the ultimate user does not pay for the dog, it's free. The training is already done, so I guess they're paying for the food and the vet bills.
Okay. Wow.
Which are tax deductible.
Right, well, for us.
Yeah, if it's a medical dog, it's.
Oh, right.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So it really, and that's why I said earlier, they value these dogs at $50,000, which includes all of the volunteers. The professional trainers are not volunteers, and they also have 4 or 5 years of special training to do this. Yes?
Does the organization start when these puppies are very young, taking out any kind of what is now very popular, your dog medical insurance for the pups that's transferable to the ultimate owner?
No, because they only have the dogs for 2 years. And dogs up to 2 years don't have very many.
No, but every year that goes by, the premiums change. So as it gets to the owner, the premium will be higher than it would have been if it had been when they were 6 months old.
I wish I could answer, but
Yeah.
I've had dogs and I've never had medical insurance.
Oh God, it's wonderful.
Okay.
It is wonderful. It has paid for so much.
Right.
Unbelievable. We pay almost nothing in medical costs compared to what it would be. One prescription is covered by. It doesn't even take a whole month's premium to cover one. What is the average? It's like $100 or something. We pay 10. Yeah, so we're more than doubling our money back.
That's great.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Sir?
Where do you get your funding?
Oh, good question. Corporations, dog food, Eukanuba, which we give to the dogs as pups, is a big supporter. It's a really easy thing to support, right? Because you're doing dogs. So all of the chapters, not all, but most of the chapters do fundraisers. They do a big fundraiser called Dog Fest usually. But there's big corporate sponsors. And I think more and more all the time, because one of the things I love about Canine Companions is they're very science oriented. So they're always looking into research, and they're parts of big research. They work with Duke and University of Pennsylvania, whereas they're looking into the health of these dogs, how to make them healthier, how to live longer, and of course how to work longer, because that's important too. But they do pretty well on the fundraising, and Canine Companions comes out very high on that chart that shows administrative costs to whatever, because it's.
And also Charles Schultz and his wife, the Peanuts people, were huge supporters.
Exactly. I don't know if you all heard what Charlene said, but Charles Schultz and the Peanuts people were huge supporters. The campus in Santa Rosa, California is the Charles Schultz campus. And then the author Dean Koontz had a release dog. That's what we call the dogs that didn't quite make it. And he was so enamored with the dog. One, he wrote several books about her, but he also became a very big donor to help the organization.
What does your training look like?
It's fairly easy, in part because of what Charlene said, I mean, we have a puppy manual that probably answers any question you want. And, you know, we do some online training. And, you know, one of the beauties is that because the training is all identical for all of the dogs. So if I take somebody else's dog, we use hear, not come. And they all sleep in kennels, and if my dog goes into that kennel, it's gonna go into that kennel. It becomes a command. So it works really well. You're silly.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Now we will extinguish this candle that is so much like the light that shines in our furry companions' eyes. And the ones that help us slow down. And may we, while we're away from this chalice, and when sometimes our little flicker fades a bit, just look at a pet's eyes and you'll get it back again. So may this spark never go out. And for my closing words, I found a prayer that was to St. Francis, and I thought it was really beautiful. And it's by an author unknown. Good St. Francis, you loved all creatures. To you, they were your brothers and sisters. Help us follow your example of treating every living thing with kindness. Saint Francis, patron saint of animals, watch over our pets and keep our companions safe and healthy, and that includes Eggo. Yes, and may it be so. Yes. Thank you all.